For decades, the world lived under the shadow of the Russian steamroller. Soviet and later Russian military doctrine was built on a singular, terrifying foundation: mass tank formations. The idea was simple yet brutal. Hundreds of armored vehicles would punch through enemy lines, supported by overwhelming artillery, moving so fast that the defender would be paralyzed. This is maneuver warfare, and for 70 years it was Russia's primary export and its greatest threat to NATO. But in the mud and drone-filled skies of Ukraine, that myth hasn't just been challenged, it has been systematically dismantled. Today, the Russian military is facing a crisis that would have been unthinkable 3 years ago. They are running out of tanks, and more importantly, they are losing the ability to fight a modern maneuver war. The steamroller has stalled, not because of a lack of will, but because the very tools of its trade, the main battle tank MBT and the coordinated armored assault, are becoming obsolete on the Ukrainian battlefield. To understand why Russia is finished in terms of maneuver, we have to look at the cold, hard numbers. Since February 2022, visual evidence has confirmed the loss of over 3,000 Russian tanks. This includes their most advanced models, like the T-90M ProRev, which was supposed to be the pinnacle of Russian engineering. These aren't just minor setbacks. These are catastrophic losses that have wiped out the equivalent of Russia's entire pre-war active tank fleet. Russia's industrial base, despite being on a total war footing, cannot keep up. Estimates suggest that Russian factories like Uralvagonzavod can produce at most 200 to 250 new T-90Ms per year. When you are losing that same number in a matter of weeks during major offensives like Avdiivka or Kupiansk, the math simply doesn't add up. To fill the gap, the Kremlin has turned to its iron graveyards, the massive open-air storage depots left over from the Cold War. We are now seeing T-62s and even T-54s from the 1950s appearing on the front lines. These vehicles lack modern thermal optics, they lack reactive armor, and they lack the communication systems required to coordinate with other units. Sending a T-62 into a modern battlefield isn't a strategic choice, it's an act of desperation. It signifies that Russia has transitioned from a modern armored force to a museum military, using relics to fill holes in a crumbling line. The primary executioner of the Russian tank hasn't been another tank, but a $500 piece of plastic and electronics, the FPV, first-person view, drone. The advent of massed drone warfare has fundamentally changed the geography of the battlefield. In the past, a tank could hide behind a tree line or move rapidly across an open field to minimize exposure. Now there is no fog of war. With 24/7 surveillance from reconnaissance drones, a Russian tank is spotted the moment it starts its engine. Within minutes, a swarm of FPV drones carrying RPG warheads is dispatched. They don't hit the thick frontal armor, they fly into the engine deck, the turret ring, or the thin roof armor. For the cost of one T-90M, Ukraine can build 5,000 drones. This asymmetric attrition has made the traditional armored breakthrough impossible. Maneuver warfare requires speed and surprise. Drones have eliminated surprise, and the constant threat of FPV strikes has eliminated speed. Russian armor is now forced to move slowly, often in single-file columns through minefields, making them sitting ducks. This is why we see meat waves, infantry attacking on foot or motorcycles. It's not because Russia prefers it, it's because their tanks can no longer survive the trip to the zero line. The loss of maneuver capability means Russia is trapped in a war of attrition, a grinding war that they were never designed to win efficiently. Without the ability to bypass Ukrainian strongpoints using armored maneuvers, Russia is forced to flatten every town with artillery before moving infantry in. This is slow, incredibly expensive in terms of lives, and gives Ukraine time to build deeper and more complex defensive lines. We are seeing the demodernization of the Russian army in real time. A military that cannot execute maneuver warfare is a military that can no longer win a decisive victory. They can occupy territory, and they can hold lines through sheer mass. But the dream of a grand sweep to the Dnieper River is dead. The Russian military has become a static 20th century force, fighting a 21st century technological power